I don't understand how on 4th and goal from the 3-yard line, down 14-9, you are kicking another field goal. That is a spot, and I am conservative by nature, very conservative. I like the way Daboll generally calls a game. Take the points, only points on the board. That is a spot, if you've watched the first half of that game, to me, you had to be aggressive and try scoring a freaking touchdown for a change.
All right, so let me ask you this. You say if you watch the game, you've got to go for it.
Yes.
As we watch the game, could the Giants get more than 1 yard on the ground?
Yeah,
the answer is no.
Well, why not throw it then?
Well, I'm going to ask you, so what did you want Daboll to do from the 3? They couldn't run it, and Daniel Jones is not Mahomes or a superstar. Yeah. What are we doing there?
Well, have Daniel Jones roll out, something like that, or read option with Daniel Jones. And by the way, if you don't get it, great, you pin Dallas back, and then you go have your big bad defense go. But just for me at that spot, you're acknowledging that you can't score. So you're just not good enough. Oh, we'll take the field goal. What are you going to kick 15 field goals to beat Dallas? I mean, the whole Giants game plan was to keep the ball away from Dallas, which they did very well. Drive the football. Guess what? Driving the football only works if you finish by putting it in the end zone once or twice. So that spot, as close as they're going to get, I just thought a very, very conservative to a fault call from Brian Daboll.
I really disagree. I really do. Everything that Daboll did last night, when he went for it, I'm sitting there saying before it happened, go for it. When they took the 3 there in that spot, 8 minutes ago, third quarter, I said take the 3. There's a big difference out between playing scared and being strategic. Mm-hmm. And you've got to react to the game that's in front of you. Now, if you told me yesterday, hey, listen, we're going to get to the third quarter, Giants going to be down 5, they're going to be at the 3, getting ready to punch it in Dallas, take the lead, place going bonkers. Conceptually, not knowing the framework of the game at that point, I would say go for it. There was 8 minutes left in the third quarter. Both teams had accounted for 23 total points. Right. I need points. Points matter at that juncture. I totally disagree. I think Daboll did the right thing.
Yeah, here's the problem, though. Did you think Dallas wasn't going to score again?
But they scored 6 more points in over the next 23 minutes. So the answer, so they didn't.
Well, no, but they did.
No, they scored 6 points.
And at that point, they already had 2 touchdowns on the board. So this is the third quarter, early in the third quarter.
8 minutes to go, midway through.
Everybody in their seats at that stadium last night, that was one of them. I can guarantee you this. They knew Dallas was going to score again. Now, to what extent, who knows? But the Cowboys' offense is a threat every single time they have the ball. It may not be as good as it once was. They're a threat. You're not going to beat them by kicking field goals. That was proof last night. Dallas didn't score as many points as they usually do. The Giants kept the ball away from them, drove the football down the field. Without scoring touchdowns, you're not beating them. By the way, even if they scored a touchdown, they might not have won. But think of all the possibilities, even if you don't get it. A, you go for it, you get it, you score a touchdown, now you have the lead. B, you don't get it, and they are pinned all the way back. Yep. And at worst, you're thinking you get good field position again to be in a spot where you could either drive the ball and score a touchdown this time or just kick the field goal that you would have had. Mm-hmm. And time comes off the clock.
There's another option that you conveniently leave out. Choice 3 or choice C. You kick the field goal, Dallas gets the ball, you stop them, you kick another field goal, you win the game.
Right.
I mean, that's what he's thinking at that point.
Yeah, with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. That's my point. Like, if it were 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and I'd still have a problem with that, but at least you can say,
I think I would have much more of an issue with that.
Right, but with more time to go, Dallas is going to score.
You got to read the game, Sal.
Yeah.
Sal,
I was reading the game.
No, I'm saying from a coaching perspective, you've got to react to the game in front of you, not the game that you necessarily thought might unfold before you came out of the tunnel. Hey, if this thing's 35-31 or, some shootout, 30-27, 3's not cutting it. It's 14-9 in the third quarter. Dallas wasn't doing a whole lot. Again, you disagree. I would have taken the 3. I had no problem with it. So,
well, they did.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. And they
lost.
also took the L.
Okay, they took the loss, and if they could catch the football, they would have walked out with a win. Now, there's a lot of other layers here, so this is why it's hard to dissect and attach definitive either anger or disagreement, whatever it might be, to certain coaching moves. So you think he did the wrong thing in that spot. I think he did the right thing. Guess what? If Darius Slayton and even neighbors at certain spots do their job, he wins.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. They lost the game, so I can't just say if somebody caught a ball, they'd win. They'd have a better chance. If Daniel Jones could actually throw a football with some accuracy or make a proper read of the defense and make a good throw, then maybe they'd be in a better spot to win. Same thing, but all we heard was going into the game, well, Dallas can't stop the run. Dallas can't stop the run. Well, how'd that work out? Maybe it was more about Kamara and Henry and Lamar Jackson than it was. I was disappointed Daniel Jones didn't run it well enough from the Giants' perspective.
I thought he was going to run a little bit more, but that's a very different thing. I mean,
well, there were many reasons for why they lost.
There are. And by the way, and the last thing that we'll do, unless it's just so late in the game and so egregious you can't help but lead a show with it. At first drive by the Giants, you want to talk about really just something that's reprehensible, like in terms of just the competitive spirit of the game. That 15-yard face mask penalty, that's the phantom call of the year. Now, maybe the Giants still wind up with the 3 points that they did, but my God, not only did they miss it, but the other guy on Dallas actually did it to Bellinger. So, and then when Dallas scored the first touchdown, they throw the flag, then they pick it up. No, we're good. I thought the referees were awful. You and I disagree on Daboll. Bottom line is this. Listen, I told Sal yesterday, I said, Sal, you got to close the gap. I mean, this is not, it's enough with the varsity, the JV, getting whacked 89-17, 2 games, losing 12 out of 13, whatever, being owned by Dallas, being owned by Philly. Ironically, the Giants, as I scripted this out yesterday, I said the Giants would lose a tight one.
Right.
I said 24-20 Dallas.
Right.
I thought that it would be a 4-quarter game. All of those things actually happened. But I don't feel good about the Giants.
Well, you also thought the Giants would run the football on them, and Cowboys weren't that good.
No, I understood, but I'm talking. But the end result, I thought the Giants
and if not
would
for
be
a late
there.
missed field goal, wouldn't have been a cover. Like the game to me.
No, but hold on a second. The difference is this, though. As much as I feel, as much as some of the things happened, I don't really feel good about the Giants necessarily, even though I'm defending Daboll. The reason why the Giants were able to hang around is because Dallas isn't very good. That's got to be said. Book it. Dallas is going nowhere. Anybody who thinks Dallas is good, I mean, I don't know if they know football. But Dallas is not good.
They're still significantly better than the Giants.
Significantly, whatever. I don't know about significantly.
Meaning that even in
they're better. It's all that matters.
Even in a game. Well, I mean, so let's see how the season plays out. But I'm not going to sit here and say Dallas isn't going anywhere. They have a quarterback. They have a coach that won a Super Bowl. Now, are they banged up on defense? So I don't know. Was it an overly impressive game? No, but I still did see CeeDee Lamb make some plays like I expected him to make. And if not for the Giants and smartly shortening the game by driving the football and keeping away, Dallas to me would have had a lot more points on the board. Also, I don't think the game was as competitive as the score says. I never truly felt like the Giants were going to win that game.
I thought they had a chance. I really thought that's where the end. I'm starting thinking. I'm like, hey, Dallas doesn't look very good. They haven't run away. How many times in the NFL have we seen the score, any sports out, where you let the inferior team, and Giants are certainly inferior. I'm not going to quibble at that. The gap, who knows? We'll find out the rest of the year. I think it may have narrowed a bit, not because Giants are getting better, but because Dallas is getting worse. But generally, the old saying is, you let an inferior team hang around, generally you're going to get clipped there. And there was enough. Now, it was far from perfect. Obviously, they couldn't run, as we know. Daniel Jones missed 2 or 3 shots downfield. Big problem there. A couple of drops, we know. But I actually thought that the way the Cowboys were reeling a bit, I really thought the Giants were going to find a way to steal this one late.
I like what you said about, even though it was close, what you wanted to see yesterday, you still came away disappointed. For me, it's got to be about the result at some point. It can't just be, we closed the gap. Look, we didn't. Hey, Dad, it wasn't 40-0. It wasn't 40-0. We only lost by 5. That game was a very winnable game.
Yeah, you can't say that in year 3.
They're just exactly.
You can say that in year 1.
And it's not just because Daboll was coaching scared at that particular moment, in my opinion. Not just because of the drops, which were pathetic. It's not just because Daniel Jones can't read a defense or make a proper throw or an accurate throw. Not because the defense didn't do enough. It's all of it. They just aren't good enough. And at some point, you've got to be held to a standard of higher expectations and higher results. BT and Sal on the Fan, our friends at Town Fair Tire, remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Caesar is calling from Dallas, Texas. What's up, Caesar?
Oh, man, what a miserable day. What a miserable game. There needs to be an investigation on the officiating in that first quarter, but let's leave all that to the side. I'm totally with you, Sal, and I've called this radio station multiple times and defended Daniel Jones on the biggest play to Neighbors. A better throw, he beats that safety for a touchdown. He is wide open. and he puts way too much air onto that ball because he's scared to zip it. On his deep throws, he is non-competitive. Secondaries are not worried about getting beat deep. And if you want to say Daboll should be taking the points and kicking threes, BT, then he should have done it at the end of the game. Because the second to last drive, if he kicks the field goal that drive, we get the ball back with 30 seconds. Another field goal wins the game.
Yeah,
so you went the whole freaking game with kicking field goals, and then you couldn't stick with it at the end. And then it ended up biting us right in the ass.
Yeah.
And that freaking timeout that he wasted in the second half, not knowing what play to call, is inexcusable. This is 3 years. They can't beat the Cowboys. Daboll was satisfied with that game staying close whether we won it or not. He didn't coach that game to win. He hasn't done it since year one. I'm tired. These second halves in games, if you look at the last 2 seasons, the way the seasons have started, he has done a terrible job at coaching. He had one half in Arizona and squeaked out a win last year.
All right, Caesar, hold on a second. Let me ask you a question
I hung
here.
up on him.
How many Giants, okay, let's just stick to offense right now, would start on legitimate playoff teams?
I mean, we're not talking about offensive line.
Talk about whatever you want. I'll give you a couple. One is Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, Neighbors.
Runyon, and Neighbors. And that's it.
Oh.
So what do you guys expect?
Yeah, well, they're not good enough. I mean, that's the problem. All the way around. I think the focal point is the roster. Like, to me, it should be about... We shouldn't be seeing Darius Slayton if Jalen Hyatt was a productive player. Clearly, that's a bust of a pick.
Yeah.
And Slayton can't catch the football.
That's a great throw, by the way.
Which I'm pretty sure... Like, I don't know, Huff, maybe you could check on this for me or Dove. I think, and again, I could be mistaken because, I'm not an expert. I'm not watching a film like Baldy. Pretty sure the primary job of a wide receiver is to catch the football. Like, I know they got to block and run proper routes. But if you can't catch a football, you shouldn't be a wide receiver. And Slayton missing drops that it's unacceptable.
He wasn't the only one.
Yeah, no, I know he
wasn't.
was. And by the way, Jones stinks too. So there are many layers to it. It's hard to get everything in 10, 13 minutes, whatever it may be. But it's the culmination of a team that isn't good enough. So much so that this is a team, the Dallas Cowboys, that could have been beaten at home if you played a better football game, even by a little bit. You could have beaten Dallas, and they didn't. And they're just not there.
Listen, Sal, you could see them inching along here. I mean, for the most part, Daniel Jones, the offensive line, did a good job in terms of pass protection. I mean, think about the previous years. I mean, hike, and he's scrambling. He's going backwards. So that's been stabilized a bit. I don't disagree. Like, there's the big picture, then there's the small stuff, or not small, but smaller from the game. And, I don't love the direction of this Giants team. That's why I'm not sure about Shane, and that's why I've said what I've said about Daboll. But I think last night he was aggressive when he needed to be. Listen, we disagree. I mean, you take the 3 points.
Where was he aggressive?
Going forward multiple times on 4th down.
Yeah, I mean, but I felt
they connected every time.
I felt like those were it was never even a thought to me. It wasn't like,
all right, well, what about last week when they're down 7-0 on their own side of the field?
Yeah, I thought that was
with Neighbors.
I would define that as aggressive.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, it's subjective. Clearly, there's no scoreboard that says this is 92% aggressive. I don't know, but when I'm watching the game and it's 4th and something, you're going for it. I generally like it, and you especially in the modern NFL, although points are down this year, so maybe you're adjusting to that. I am a proponent, a believer in go. You got to get 7, man. You're not going to win much if you just keep kicking field goals. But it was 14-9 after 37 or 38 minutes of football combining both teams. I'm taking the 3 there, and I'm trusting my defense isn't going to give up a whole lot more the rest of the way, which, by the way, they didn't. They gave up 6 more points the rest of the way. So, I mean, it could have broken their way. It didn't. I cannot crush him for taking the 3. I will not do that.
Alex is calling from Staten Island. What's up, Alex?
Hey, Al, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Good morning. Just really quick, I've always been kind of the guy who never really expects much from Daniel. I know there were a few throws that he could not just make. I mean, especially with the long ball. I know the pass that he threw to Slayton towards the end, even though it wasn't thrown perfectly, that's a catch that you got to make, man. And I can't talk about how many times Slayton has cost us either a game or just a big catch. And one last thing, guys, I got to talk about Deonte Banks. And to me, he is not a number 1 cornerback until you can prove it to me, because every single week that this guy has been covering a number 1 receiver, he is getting burned. And he is killing us with the slant routes, everything above. It's a game that we needed, obviously, but I'm not going to really feel a whole lot down because, granted, it's a game we should have won, but there are some positives to it. But like I said, hopefully moving forward is something that we can build on. And I like the fact that the O-line is kind of stepping up and is at least giving Daniel a chance to make some kind of plays. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you for the call, Alex. Banks is an interesting one because he was terrific a year ago. And you think, okay, well, what's changed? How does a cornerback who showed so much promise last year all of a sudden look like he's regressed this year so far through 4 weeks? And
that's a different defensive coordinator.
That's the obvious one. It's a different defensive system. So maybe Bowen needs to figure out a way to maximize Banks. I don't know the answers to that. We could ask Jonathan Casillas when we have him on next week. But we knew the Giants didn't have Drew Phillips, which hurt them yesterday. But Banks himself individually has not been the same. I would assume what you said, BT, that it's got to be something to do with a different scheme. Maybe he's learning it, whatever. But he has not been the same player.
I also think that they're coaching around some big deficiencies on the third level, and I don't think that that's easy. Listen, I think that when you say, he's a number one corner, well, you could be the number one corner on your team and not really be a legitimate number one corner. To say that, just like you could have on an average team, the opening day pitcher isn't necessarily an ace. He might be your opening day pitcher, but it doesn't mean that he's an ace. So I like Banks. He's definitely regressed a bit, but he's not alone.
Bob is in Middletown, New Jersey. What's up, Bob?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for taking my call. You guys are fantastic. I'm just very, disappointed because watching the Giants is just, lately the last several years, it's just really pathetic. But the officiating, with all the modern technology that we have, how come, they don't have the capacity to review that call, the face mask call, which cost the Giants 15 yards when they should have.
They do. See, this is the thing about the NFL that drives you nuts. Now, I know that they've leaned on, to kind of accelerate the process a bit. The refs have, with the communication. So it's a little new, but I mean, to me, the simple thing is this. You have one person to sign, whatever name you want to come up with. And if there's such a call like that, now I don't mean where it's like 50-50 and the guy upstairs says, well, my interpretation wasn't past 5 yards, he was handsy. No, that you can't start doing. But when there's a call specific, face mask, 15-yard penalty, and you don't even touch the mask, somebody's got to pop in and say, whoa, we messed up. That doesn't count. Yeah, it's so unfair.
Now, the problem is then should everything be reviewable?
No,
that's why I hate replay to begin with, because the whole point of replay is to get the calls right. Okay? But even with replay, the calls aren't gotten right. You see it every week. That's why, for me, I basically have a no-fly rule with this. Like, I'm not going to complain about the officiating. The officiating can be horrible at times and cost you, and we all understand that. But it's not the primary reason. You got to work around it because that's a given. The one given in the NFL is that the officials are going to suck the majority of the time, even with replay. Some of the blatant stuff, scoring plays, turnovers, all that, you're going to get that right, you hope, based on the replay. But those other calls, BT, nothing you can do about it. Officiating is horrible. Look at Sunday night. The Chiefs get the benefit of the whistle. Like, it is what it is. Unfortunately, you got to work around that. We'll get to more of your calls on the other side. 888-808-1019. BT and Sal on the Fan.